Hey, what's going on guys? It's Mark back in the workshop on Mark's Aquatics. Right, this tank is cleared up absolutely beautifully now. We've got a lot of little sheds from the shrimp on the bottom there because we did a water change, and all those little guys have now shed, and a lot of them now have put down some eggs because when they shed they pair up, and obviously they will get berries now, and you'll see all the saddled females start dropping their eggs down into them little swimmers, which means that they're fertile because they won't drop them eggs down into their swimmers unless they've been fertilized by the male. So there's a bit of knowledge for you if you didn't know that. The cherry tree's looking awesome. Little shrimp all over the place there, doing their best to destroy my hard work of putting all that rickia onto that tree. But that's all part of the game with these little guys. They are absolutely amazing little foragers, clean up crew, and they will pull and eat and have a go at anything. Real opportunistic little feeders they are. Now then, what I've done on this little video, what we're going to do, I'm just going to go through a quick CO2. I've just been out and bought a new cylinder of CO2. I've got an old regulator at the top here which you can buy. It's the same as similar to the one that we gave away on the last giveaway. But I've just gone and bought a new bottle. I thought I'm going to put it in here, going to try it out, see how it goes. Well, I know how it's going to go. Everything's going to flourish now, that's for sure, because we put that new cuber in that we took from the tank next door. All those cuttings I've popped in all over the place now. But these, if you're going to get into CO2, that's going to be like the meaning of, well, the whole point of this video really is to just show you this CO2 kit, and because I know a couple of you asked me to show you how to set it up. So and it couldn't be simpler. It really couldn't. You've got your drop checker there, which you can see is letting out a bubble every probably 2 or 3 seconds, which is absolutely perfect for a tank of this size. This is about, I don't know, about a 5 or 6 gallon tank, I think. Only a small tank, but you don't want too much CO2 in there, okay, because you can get problems with it if you overdose on it, and that's why we need one of those. So basically, to set this system up, that regulator on the top there, okay, you just screw that onto there, connect your pipe to there. That then in turn runs down into the drop checker where it says in, and then you've got another little pipe, or for the length of your tank, how deep it is, onto the outflow, into your tank, rubber suction cup there, onto the diffuser. When you put those on, make sure you dip that in hot water first, okay, soften the pipe up, and there's like a little nipple, if you can see that little round ring that goes around there on the glass itself. Slide it down till it covers that, and that'll give you a nice seal. And then basically it's got a little regulator valve here on the side, and you turn that up and down until you get the desired bubbles coming out of the bottom of the tube. That's filled with water, so as that pressure then comes down, the bubble gets forced out. You can see the bubble then come up through the water to the surface, and when it hits the surface then it goes down that pipe into your diffuser, pressurizes the diffuser there slightly, and then atomizes all that lovely CO2 into the water column. And you're going to want that right the way down low. Keep it down to about maybe 1 bubble every 2 or 3 seconds. I would go first, just to see how it goes. Just let that little micro bubbles come out. But then what you've got to do is you've got to get one of these little CO2 checkers, okay? Now, I'm going to put all the links in the description, okay, down below, where you can buy all these from. On the old Amazon site, which I've been put onto, apparently I can make a little bit of money out of the sale. If you go to Amazon and you click on one of these links that I put up and you buy it, I get a commission, which is nice. I never knew that. My friend Richard from Pongaroo put me onto that little hint and tip, and it'll help me out a little bit as well, and you get what you want and I'll get about 5p. But never mind. But those are the guys that I'm using there. That's the new bubble counter there, the count safe, and that is the CO2 checker. And like I said, I'll put them all in the description down there, and there's the diffuser as well. I'll link them all for you down there, but I thought I'd just put them up there because they're a really good introductory level CO2 kit for you that are always like, oh, I don't know about CO2, I've heard this and I've heard that. But if you've got a planted tank and you're keeping things like Riccia, Monte Carlo, some of these higher light plants, they will absolutely really thank you for putting CO2 kits in. And these are so simple. You literally, like I said, you screw that on the top of there, pipe on there, onto the in, that one onto the out, down to your diffuser, turn it to about 3 bubbles a second, and you're away. And that's it. I'm not going to go into big details about everything else because there's loads of videos online about these things. Oh, I know what I've got here. I've got a nice piece of broccoli I was going to feed these guys. I'll just drop this in and you'll soon see them attack this. They are depth charge 1 away. And we have touchdown. Look at that. They'll soon be on that. Yes, but like I was saying, guys, we've got a nice little flow. But what we've got to do now, and this is a new one out, and I thought I'd grab one of these because it's a completely different design to what I was used to. Comes with 2 bottles of the reagent that you put in there, the pH reagent, and it couldn't be any simpler to fit in. You basically undo the back. Don't know if you can see that there. You pop the back off, put 35 drops in the cup, stick that top bit back on there, put it 10 centimeters deep in your tank. I've just put this one in, that's why it's blue. I've literally just set this all up. But when it's blue, you haven't got enough. When it's yellow, you've got too much. And when it goes a nice green, that's what you want. You want it a nice green colour, and that's going to be the okay part that you want. Okay, sort of like a nice little plant green. They do come with a series of checkers as well, as you can see there. Which you can stick on your tank. But I've always gone, I've not been too fussy about it over the years. All I've done is I basically wait until that goes a nice green colour, and then I'll back that off. Okay, if you're not enough, put it to maybe 2 bubbles a second. Not enough, and you keep going until you get it right. Okay, you either back it up, more bubbles or less bubbles. Okay, obviously more bubbles is going to mean it's going to be higher concentration. Turn it down, less bubbles, less concentration. And we have a migration now going towards the broccoli. They absolutely love this stuff. But that's all I was going to really go into. It's just a really good entry level CO2 kit, and that at about, I don't know, I'm doing that every 3 seconds, a bubble's coming out. That's going to last you for months, that canister, on a small tank. Initially, I'm not sure what these are. They may be around £100, I'm not sure. But once you've got one, you will never go back. I tell you, they are absolutely superb. They really are. And you'll see the difference now in this growing, and the greenness that comes out in these, the purling, those little pearls will be forming everywhere, and it'll really grow very, very quickly, and you'll have some real lush growth. And mix that in, okay, with the, which I use again, Ferropol, and the Ferropol 24 mixture of foods as well. I'll link all this stuff for you. I get mine, you get these little bottles like that. I'll link that one in there, that's the Ferropol. And also, I've got it hidden around the other side here somewhere. There you go. I'm going to get some lighting sorted out in here. And the Ferropol 24. I'll link it all down below so you can find it all if you fancy having a go at it. But these shrimps are going absolutely bananas. I've been feeding them different foods lately. I've been having lots of new leaves coming out on the trees. Fresh beech leaves, blanched. They actually go mad for them. Oak leaves. Anything that's fresh and green growing in the wild. I tend to blanch up a bit and put it in there for them and give them a good range of foods. Fresh stinging nettles, blanched stinging nettles up, bramble leaves. There's a good, I've got a video all about making shrimp foods and how to collect leaves and what to collect, if you fancy going back and having a look at one of those. I know one of you guys was saying on one of the comments, I think it was on the last video, how do I get my shrimp so red? And basically, it's into your breeding side of things, okay? When you're selective breeding, make sure you're picking your reddest colour, brightest colours out and putting them back in, and anything in the tank which isn't as bright, which is slightly dull, what I do is I tend to take them back to my local fish shop and trade them in for something else, and that in turn will give somebody else, you know, some shrimp and they can start off with. But it's that line breeding, that selective breeding, which I've done with these now for some time, and you just get the best of the best then, and that's what you just do. You just keep putting those back in to the hobby and you'll get and select the best ones out. This colony's got quite big now. Like I said in the last video, I'm going to be starting to thin it out because I notice a lot of these girls now, since I've done that big water change and we've changed this scape around, there's a lot with berries now and a lot with saddles. I'll take you out of this now. We'll have a little look around. You can see that's there, that's purging nicely. Now I've touched that and it's gone up a little bit now, you see, because I was explaining to you what to do. Now you see I've backed it off a little bit and that's got back to normal. After about 24 hours that's going to change to the colour I want, okay? And that's why you want to start it right down low, so you make sure you don't overdose, because you don't want to come back and find it yellow and all your things dead because you OD'd on CO2. And it can be quite dangerous with fish and everything, so you've got to be careful. And if you're unsure, guys, I mean, I know this little sticker system that I've got here and with my lights and the tank lights, it's not going to look right. But if you go and Google it, you can Google the correct, you know, CO2 colour for your aquarium. You'll be able to print something off and it will give you then, with the lighting that you've got in your house, a good indication of where to go with the CO2. And like I say, if you keep it right the way down and then just go up in increments until you get that desired colour, and then once it's set you just walk away and leave it, and that's it. It's magic stuff. But what a super simple little CO2 kit that really is. I've got a massive CO2 kit in here. I've got a fire extinguisher which is about, well, it comes up past my knee, and when I was doing a lot more planted tanks I had a big regulator on that, and I was running a whole battery of tanks off of one big cylinder with all different diffusers and different things in there, and it was absolutely fabulous. But I've still got that over there. I might hook that up to the bench tank and replant that one of these days. That'll give me something else to do, as if I haven't got enough to do already. But I think what I'll do now is we'll go down, we'll have a look at some of these shrimp, because they are absolutely stunning looking today. And on that broccoli they look, they really do look nice. And if you're new into shrimp keeping, guys, and you're new to the channel, pop back, because I've got lots of videos on different shrimp and sexing shrimp and all that kind of stuff in my playlists, okay? You can go back and you can have a look at those. And if you like the old channel, hit the old thumbs up and subscribe if you and whack the notification bell for up and coming videos. And then we'll have you on board and you'll be learning all kinds of stuff. Right, let's have a look at these shrimps. Ah, that's a little bit better for you. Look, there's a nice little view there now. Look at those. We've got some stunning reds in amongst those. We've got lots of buried up females, some with saddles on. You got that one there with that saddle in the back. You see the ovaries there with the eggs in. You got the little males up here, little thinner ones. And then we got some with eggs. I think she's got some eggs up there. When she goes sideways you might be able to see. But there's lots going on, very busy. And like I said, guys, if you want to line breed your shrimp out, just pick the best of the best. Yeah, she's full of berries underneath there, that one. And keep putting them back in. And the more you take out, if you keep a nice colony, they'll keep breeding. I find when you'll get to a saturation point in a tank and you'll end up with, they'll just stop breeding because there's so many in there, they will stop. So by thinning them out, taking out the not as colourful ones, you're going to end up with a lot stronger, healthier, brighter colony, okay? Just like these little guys. And it won't be long before there'll be lots of little baby ones all over the sponge filters, and I think some of them may have dropped some babies already in amongst the sponge filter, little veins in the sponge filter up there. But they are very, very busy, and they love those little florets in the broccoli. They'll pull them apart. Now I blanched that for about a good 5 minutes in a little Pyrex bowl with a couple of inches of boiling water in there, and really did steam it so it's nice and soft for them to pull apart. And there's nothing better for them, there really isn't. Healthy greens, fresh greens, like I said earlier, stinging nettles, beech leaves, oak leaves, bramble leaves, dandelions. Oh, it goes on. There's so many things out there, but always check first, obviously. And if you do pick up anything from anywhere, make sure it's not roadside. Go off the beaten track a bit and pick things that you know that aren't going to have any spray or other horrible stuff, dog's wee and all that sort of stuff all over them. You don't want to be picking that kind of stuff and putting it in your tank. And always wash it and, you know, and blanch it first, okay? But these guys are very, very busy. There's nothing better than to get a nice little colony of shrimp and watch them under magnification, and just to see how busy they really go. Look at that. That little diffuser's working nicely now as well. Little tiny micro bubbles coming out, and that's what you want. Nice and low flow to start with, and you'll see your plants coming on in leaps and bounds. Got a little shed there from one of the shrimps, one of the females there. You can see she shed that shell off. Nice and clear shell, shed beautifully. And a lot of you guys have problems, I know, as well. You know, you saying about your shrimp not being able to molt and they're dying, and that's where you've got to keep that TDS right. You've got to have those minerals in the water, okay, because they need those minerals in the water to create that new shell, the calcium. And you won't beat it broccoli wise. Yeah guys, you're never going to beat fresh spinach, broccoli, nettles, full of magnesium, full of calcium, and that will keep those sheds growing. If you're having trouble with your shrimp not shedding and they're getting a bit ill and they're dying during the molt, don't feed them anything else but fresh greens for about a week, okay? A week, couple of weeks even, and you'll find they'll start shedding properly again, and you'll be back up to speed, and you won't be losing them, because it's horrible when you come down in the mornings. And I know when you're first into shrimp, you know, people get despondent with it so quick. They think, oh, I've just bought some and they're dead and all that. The watchwords that I always say with shrimp keeping, and I know there's lots of videos out there, there's lots of people that are doing it, but as you can see with the ones in front of you, always make sure you acclimate them slowly over an hour or so, couple of hours, okay? Do your 10% water changes every couple of weeks. Feed them nicely, heavy, like the greens, all this fresh stuff blanched. Other little treats as well, but feed them sparingly. Now, and that's all I can say. You're not going to go wrong if you follow those guidelines, okay? Keep your temperature around 22 degrees, 22, 23, and you shouldn't go too far wrong. Cherry shrimp, I find all shrimp, as long as you follow those guidelines, shrimp in general, they're very, very easy to keep. You've just got to be patient. You've got to have a well-cycled tank, because they're so small, these creatures, and anything that fluctuates is going to upset them, okay? Keep your hands out the tank. Don't put your hands in too much. Obviously, if you smoke, not a good idea, because smoke and pollutants are going to get drawn to the water. Be careful with your boyfriends and wives with these Glade things. I don't know what they are, but these plug-in spray smelly atomizer things, because they're basically blowing out fine oil in mist into the air, okay, and they're going to go into your tank and they're going to kill off your fish as well. They'll surface film everything up and you'll poison everything. So you've got to keep pristine little conditions, and they're not that hard to achieve. They're really not. If you're going to keep shrimp, I would keep them on their own, like this little tank. If you want to put in some little mosquito rasbora, some little chili rasbora, or something very, very small in with them as well, that's fine. But just enjoy it and keep it down to a minimum and take your time. You can't rush aquariums, and I see that in the trade so much these days. People going down into the shops, and I'm in there and I'm saying, well, I bought this tank last week, it should be cycled by now. I want 10 goldfish, I want this, I want that, and they put them in, there's a massive ammonia spike and they lose half of them, and the ones that do live are gill damaged for life, and it's a real shame. You've got to really make sure you take your time. We've all been there, but that's why I make these videos, because I want to try and get that information out there to people, that you mustn't rush it. You just enjoy it. Let a tank, plant your tank up first, like I've done here. Make sure everything's planted just like we planted all these nice little bits. You can do all this first. You can fish cycle your tank. You can do what I normally do. You can put a little bit of cooked shrimp in there, get that cycle going, get that nitrogen cycle kicked in, and then leave that then for even a month, and then you can start adding your little bits after that, okay? But just do it really, really slowly, and anything is achievable. I don't like seeing people going into shops, and the thing is, a lot of it is down to the fish shop people as well. You know, I've seen other shops, no names mentioned, where people have gone in and I've heard that, oh yeah, you'll be okay, just put that in, because they just want the sale. And then you can't go up to these people and just say, oh, this, that and the other. It hurts my brain when I see people do that. There's so much information on the internet now that there's no excuses. There really isn't any excuses. Just do a bit of homework and end up with a beautiful little thriving tank just like this one. If you want to watch this tank the way I first built it, it's called the budget shrimp tank. You can keep everything down to a real minimum. I use river sand originally, rocks, the wood, everything was from nature, okay? And it didn't cost me a thing, and I had a nice day out walking about and thoroughly enjoyed myself with old Spud, my dog. But that's going to grow nicely now with that CO2. I've been rambling on now for 23 minutes, and you're probably sick of listening to me by now. But that little bit of broccoli is starting to take the shape of the shrimp now. Look at that. But that's one thing I will say again, guys. Keep that CO2 right low first, and then niche it up slowly as every 24 hours. Keep your eye on that bubble checker, and as soon as that goes green, you know you're in the right place. And print yourself off something so you know exactly what colour green you're looking for. There's no point in me saying, oh, it's that green, because lighting's different in here, it might be different. And there's a few variants in between. Obviously you don't want it to be blue, which corresponds to about 3. You get like a turquoisey colour, which is about 8. You get a lighter sort of green, which is about 12. You want it around 20 milligrams, okay? About 20 milligrams per litre. You don't want it to go up as high as 50, or you'll be in trouble. And that, it's all on there, you see. That's the colours that you want to be looking for. And obviously you got the KHs there, KH of 4, 7.3, KH of 8, 7.3, and a KH of 12, a 7.5. There's all the pH ranges and colours and different things on there as well. And these are all handy stickers that you can put on your tank or on the side of your tank, and they're not like a sticky sticker, they're proper window stickers, so they're easily peeled off again as well. And that all comes with the kit, which is handy. Anyway guys, hope you liked that little video on how to set up that super simple CO2 kit from JBL. And as always, take care, you're all stars, love you loads, and I'll see you on Sunday for another edition of Marks Aquatics. Bye for now.
Just me and my guitar.